trying to get money out of us. Carter is a freeloader. She's not even a private chef or professional cook. My daughter, 16 female, has been calling her new stepmom, 21 female. That age gap. You know what I always say about age gaps. I don't like them. I expected us all to get a laugh out of it because, come on, that's pretty funny. What do a mother who lets her son become homeless over winter break, a father who destroys his daughter's dream trip with her mother, and a friend who's gotten homemade, free meals for years, all have in common? Well, you see, they're all a-holes. I'm Jessica Layla, and tonight we're going to be diving into 7 toxic, crazy, am I the a-hole stories. So everyone, what I want you to do is to grab your snacks, grab your drinks, get comfy cozy, and let's just dive right in with story number 1. Am I the a-hole for getting something out of my friend's girlfriend's purse? Obligatory title sounds bad, but hear me out. This all happened several years ago, and sometimes my friends still bring up this incident from time to time, so I wonder if I am an a-hole, or if they are overreacting. I, 30 male, met my friend, Purse Girl, 27 female, through her boyfriend, who I had known for several years by that point. When he first introduced Purse Girl to our friend group, I immediately took a disliking to her because I always felt like she was trying too hard. She seemed like a typical not like other girls girl, if you catch my drift. She never put too much effort into makeup or fashion, and the purses she would carry around were always raggedy and /or had some nerdy stuff printed on it. Oh wow, we should kill her in the street. When my girlfriend and I hang out with Purse Girl and my friend, I usually imagine my friend and I hanging out while Purse Girl and my girlfriend would do their own thing. That sentence made no sense to me. Am I tweaking? But that never really happened because Purse Girl claimed to relate more with her boyfriend and me due to her interests. She also has some weird boundary issues because she grew up in an abusive household and put up some really strong walls about herself and her belongings. We should kill her in the street. One night, several years ago, we were having dinner at a restaurant, and Purse Girl had her purse on the table. It was nearing time to leave, so I went through her purse and grabbed her car keys, intending to give them to her when it was time to go. No step of that process was necessary. I figured since the purse was all beat up and raggedy anyway, she probably doesn't really protect or care for it the way someone who owned a designer brand purse would. Unfortunately, I had forgotten that I took her keys, so when she started looking through her purse, she panicked, thinking she lost her keys. I thought it was kind of funny seeing her freak out like that, so I kept the keys while she frantically searched for them in her purse. When I gave them back to her and revealed I had them the whole time, I expected us all to get a laugh out of it because, come on, that's pretty funny. Unfortunately, she snapped and yelled at me for going through her things, and for prolonging her stress for thinking she lost her keys. Eventually, she got over it, but a while after this incident, it happened again. We were at her apartment to watch a movie. She had the DVD in her purse, and I again figured, since we would be watching the movie anyway, that I'd just grab the DVD out of her purse to save time and trouble. Yeah, because you know how much time and trouble it takes to get a DVD out of a purse. Again, she freaked out, and this time threatened to ban me from coming to her and my friend's place ever again. I don't think I am the a-hole. I never had any intention of stealing anything from her purse, but she claims that going through her things violates her boundaries. I'm not sure I agree, because I was grabbing items out of her purse that we all ended up needing to use anyway. Yep, you're the a-hole. I love how you do a long setup, describing why you believe she's unlikable and carries an ugly purse, which then justifies you rifling through said ugly purse. No matter how the purse looks, or how little you like her, her purse is a personal area that you shouldn't be rooting through. And the fact that you were laughing alone at how funny it was shows you even your friends think you were being a jerk. It was funny though. Like, how if you lose something and you find if something really obvious, you'd laugh it off like, wow, I was looking for it for so long, yet it was here all along. Huh? You're the a-hole, not even a difficult call. Don't go through other people's stuff without permission. The fact that you don't see that that is not okay is somewhat worrying. I grew up with siblings and we all went through each other's things without permission. I figure she reacted this way because she's an only child, but I really don't see anything wrong with it. I wasn't trying to steal anything. You're the a-hole. Why did you need to get her keys or the DVD out for her? Or was it that you wanted to go through her things? Don't touch other people's stuff without permission. I just didn't really see a problem with it. I didn't do it for her, I just did it because we needed the keys and the DVD at some point in the near future. I could care less about what's actually in the purse! This guy should leave his address so we can go grab random items from his closet. Come on, that is funny. How long could taking keys / a DVD out of a bag possibly take that he felt the need to save time by doing it for her? It wouldn't matter if she carried her stuff around in a bin bag, it wouldn't entitle you to go through her stuff. So this story kinda reads as rage bait to me. My philosophy for this channel is treat all Reddit stories as they are written, as if they're real. So my takeaway is, this guy has zero sense of boundaries, and, in no world could I see this guy not being the a-hole. Going through someone's stuff, even if their stuff is ugly, that's weird as a full-grown man to start rifling through someone else's belongings. That's something like a child would do, a teeny tiny little baby would do. So this is a 30-year-old man and a 27-year-old woman. And it's like, a 30-year-old man is acting this way. One thing I think that was really cringe was saying she's not like other girls. There's kind of a weird thing with this, in that if women aren't overly feminine, or they don't like things that are typically very feminine, people think that they're performing for males. A pick-me, or a girl who's not like other girls, is typically doing that for male attention, for the male gaze. Now that's not the vibe I got from Purse Girl, and the fact that he's referring to her only through a nickname and talking about how incredibly ugly her purse is, like, nothing about this. She could be carrying around a trash bag, she could be carrying around straight up rags. You don't need to go through her stuff because the keys didn't save you time, the DVD didn't save you time. Matter of fact, if you went through her purse, grabbed her keys, and then dragged out the situation, not telling her you had them, you actually created more time than you would have if you had just left them where they were. I don't know how the DVD situation played out, but you don't go through other people's stuff. That's not even a boundary you should have to lay down. That's just something that should be known automatically. So to read a story about a 30-year-old man acting this way, ew, ick. My general take is that a 30-year-old man acting this way, ick! And I would call him the a-hole in this situation. And the fact that no one laughed with him, it's pretty cringe. But as I always say, that's just my take on it. So anyways, on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for ruining my daughter's birthday? They're away because my daughter uses Reddit. I, 45 male, have 3 kids. 16 male, 14 male, and 12 female. The story concerns 12 female. Why does a 12-year-old have Reddit? Now, my daughter's birthday falls on New Year's, so it tends to be disregarded, never on purpose. Because it's between 2 big holidays, but we've always tried to make her feel special. My daughter is a known introvert and tends to spend a lot of time in her room, and if we're at a family event, she just sits in the corner on her phone. She is also very unconventional in the sense that she does not desire a lot of things that are typical of girls her age.
What do you mean by that?
Me and my wife have tried to fix this and get her to open up more, but to no avail. The issue arose when me and my wife asked her how she wanted to spend her birthday. She said something along the lines of alone, with snacks in my room. This request wasn't outlandish for her, but spending your birthday alone doesn't seem like a good way to spend your birthday. It would also reflect poorly on us, as the family likes big celebrations. Who cares what the family wants? So instead, we invited family over on her birthday for a birthday/New Year's celebration. It was a barbecue with lots of snacks, a projector that my brother brought, and a rented bouncy castle. I thought she would realize that this was better and a more productive way to spend her birthday, but I was wrong. She was miserable the whole time and just sat in the corner. When everyone left late at night, she started screaming at me and my wife about how we ruined her birthday. My wife did most of the scolding and she was sent to her room. How could we ruin her birthday if her plans were just bed-rotting? She was also mad because she didn't get the gift she wanted, which was a hot chocolate machine. She's the only family member who drinks hot chocolate, and she's not 50, so we got her something else that we thought she would appreciate more. This morning, she ignored all of us, including my sons who were on our side because they think she's being ungrateful since the party was great. I was just trying to make her birthday special. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. I mean, you cannot really be this obtuse. You asked her what she wanted, she told you, you ignored her, and did the exact opposite. Of course she's upset. You have no business scolding her for a situation of your own making. I disregarded everything my daughter wanted for her birthday, including her present. Why is she mad? The hell is being 50 got to do with hot chalk? We tried to fix immediately. You're the a-hole. Your child doesn't need fixing. No wonder she stays in her room all day. They are insufferable. So first of all, it is of my belief that this wasn't about the birthday. They just wanted a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever celebration. You just throw in her birthday as part of that. So people who were born near the holidays, I was born 2 days before Christmas, will understand that that can kind of suck. In my family, they didn't disregard me just because of a holiday, but there are a lot of families who, if a child, a family member is born near a specific big holiday, they will just throw away the birthday or try to combine things. So it seems like they tried to combine the New Year's celebration with her birthday, and then they just said, oh well, this is for her birthday. But as someone who's introverted and loves hot chocolate machine would be sick. It's kind of sad to see the way she's being treated. People who spend a lot of time in their room, especially kids and teens, it's not always this, but sometimes they don't want to be around the family. And not because they're emo, and not because it's just a teenage phase. If someone, especially at the age of 12 years old, is spending all day in their room, doesn't want to spend their birthday with their family, and just wants to lay in bed all day, I think that might be a sign of a larger problem. Sometimes family can be exhausting to be around, especially the way these people are described. I think that for 1 day out of the year, you can fulfill your child's request. You know, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I think there's a lot more to the story than your 12-year-old child just wanted to spend her birthday in her room eating snacks. It kind of seems to me like there's, you know, a couple different angles playing out here. I think if you ask someone what they want to do and you're like, nope, you don't get to do that, and you completely disregard everything and do the total opposite, and also don't get them the one gift they want because it's for old people, 50's not old. You know what I meant. You know, it's like, what did you do for her on her birthday? You could have had this weird little New Year's celebration the next day. People typically get quite a few days off from work and school around that time of the year. So there was no reason to not just have a chill, nice quiet day for her, and then the next day you do all that craziness. So yeah, I just don't agree with the parents. I think they completely disregarded her wishes, and it seems like she's kind of put on the back burner a lot. Yeah, so I think there's more to it than just she's an introvert and not like other girls her age. I think there's more to the situation, more to their daughter that they didn't share. They just sound like crappy parents in my opinion. But as I always say, that's just my take. Sue me. So anyways, on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for setting a boundary with my adult son and allowing him to face the consequences of his own actions? I, 40 female, am a single mother to Alex, 20 male. Even though I am disappointed in Alex right now, he is the light of my life and all the family I have. Recently, Alex has started dating Anna, 20 female. I do not like Anna. I grew up as a tomboy with parents who wanted me to be independent, so I have worked for everything I have, which was especially difficult as a young, single mom. But there's nothing I'm more proud of than my son. Anna is the exact type of girl that used to bully me. She has a wealthy family and has had everything handed to her and strikes me as prissy because of this. I have told Alex how I feel about her, but he insists there's nothing wrong with her since she's never been directly rude or anything. But he's a boy, so he isn't as familiar with how nasty that type of girl can be. Anna's birthday was yesterday, and her parents had planned to take their family out to a nice restaurant to eat, and Alex was invited. I really don't understand why a 20-year-old would need to go out to a fancy restaurant, and thought it was incredibly spoiled of Anna to allow her parents to pay for that, and I don't want that attitude rubbing off on my son. So I told Alex that I don't want him to go. He insisted on going, and this made me feel like he was ignoring me. for her. Also, I have never been able to afford meals like that, so I feel like Alex was rubbing it in that Anna's family could give him things that I've never had, and I really didn't appreciate that when I've sacrificed so much for him. Literally, who told you that? You're really reading between the lines here. Alex was supposed to come home from college for winter break, but I really don't want to see him right now. The issue is that he lives in an on-campus apartment, and the campus is not open during the winter break. The deadline to register to stay in the dorms has already passed, so he won't be able to stay in his apartment over break. I really think he's old enough to figure this one out on his own, and I pay for my house, so I should be in control of who stays there and when. But he's really upset. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole, and taking out some unresolved trauma on this poor girl, and now your son. Anna is not, and has never been, mean to you. She was born well off, but that doesn't make her automatically a bad person. Nor is it spoiling to take a 20-year-old to a nice birthday dinner. She and your son were under no obligation to say no to her private family celebration. Their acceptance also has nothing to do with you and is not a criticism of your financial circumstances. These two young people, one of whom is supposed to be the light of your life, are not to blame for the hard things that have happened to you. Apologize to your son, work on your own stuff, let him come home, and do better going forward. Info: what boundary did he disrespect? I told him I wasn't comfortable with him going to the dinner. He went anyway. His choice, but I own the home and I am allowed to invite and uninvite people as I see fit. That is my choice. It may be taking things a bit far since he has nowhere else to go, though. So 20 is too young to go to a fancy restaurant, but is totally old enough to face homelessness in the winter alone? Too long didn't read. My son is the light of my life, but I won't let him stay in my house because I'm jealous of his girlfriend. People have lost the plot on what a boundary is. Yeah, so I saw other people in the comment section saying this, so it kind of influenced my opinion, but it feels like she's misusing therapy speak, which is something you see people on the internet do a lot. That's kind of besides the point, but I don't think this is a boundary. Telling someone that they can't do something isn't necessarily a boundary. I don't think it falls under the category of one. I'm not gonna get into the technicalities. I just don't see it that way. So the issue is the OP grew up as a tomboy with parents who wanted me to be independent, and then start to going off on Anna being the exact type of girl who would bully her, but yet has never actually done anything to the original poster. She has a wealthy family and had everything handed to her. Do we really know that? Not really, just because you're well off doesn't mean that your parents are giving you everything you need. And strikes me as prissy because of this. But because she has never done anything rude directly, the original poster thinks that Alex defending his girlfriend from not doing anything directly rude, but he's a boy, so he isn't familiar with how nasty this type of girl can be. She hasn't done anything, so she's not really, I don't think it's possible to be nasty if you haven't actually done anything to anyone. She's just well off. But then the issue is, they go to a nice restaurant to eat, and it's like, what about me? I haven't gone to a fancy restaurant. I've never been able to afford meals like that. Well, me either, but you ain't seen me complaining. Like, this is such a non-issue. If people are able to afford to go to a nice restaurant, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And the parents allegedly paid, which is kind of typical for a lot of people's birthdays, you know? People pay. And then now the original poster is threatening basically homelessness or very little options for her son, her only son, during winter break. And the original poster is saying because she pays for her house, she should be able to control who stays there and when, etc. Ick and big yikes. I do think people are kind of onto something with maybe jealousy. You know, there's like that whole thing with emotional incest, which we're not gonna delve into, but you should go down that rabbit hole if you're interested. I think leaving your 20-year-old son to figure things out, really crappy thing to do, and prematurely judging Anna, who has done nothing, is just incredibly cringe to me, because she's an archetype of someone who used to bully you. But if she's done nothing wrong, you should at least wait until she does something. Yeah, I think it's just a really icky situation all around, and this mother just seems jealous to me, and, you know, the whole therapy speak and all of that. So yeah, I'm just not on this mother's side at all. I think she is the a-hole, and ultimately, ew. But that's just my take on it. Let me know what you think down below, and let's move right on to our next one. Am I the a-hole for quitting my main job to invest in my podcasting career? I hear podcasts and I don't like that. I'm not going into my beliefs, but I started a podcast to raise awareness of something serious a few years ago. UFO sightings, anti-gravity, the massive increase in sightings, that kind of thing. And I finally started to get views. 2 weeks ago, I quit my job. It was okay, but I don't get along with a few close-minded colleagues who, in my experience, are willfully ignorant of the dangers. Since then, I've given it my all and podcasted every day, and I've seen growth. Most importantly, though, this is what I believe, and I feel it's my purpose in life. My wife is unhappy, to say he least. She thinks this is a really dumb decision, and that I'm being selfish, putting my beliefs over our income. She works too. My old job was relatively simple, customer complaints and returns, and is going to be automated eventually. True passionate journalism is rare, and I'm just gonna say it. With what's coming, it's important people show the truth, because I fully believe we'll witness a planet-altering incident in our lifetime. Truthfully, am I making money now? No, not really, but could I? Yes. I'm estimating if I grow at this rate, I can monetize within 2 months. UAP research is a growing field, and I see myself as establishing myself in the field. If things don't work out in 2 months, I've told her I'll go back to my old job. She thinks this is too long. Am I the a-hole for quitting my main job to invest in my podcasting career? I don't care about what your new job is. You're the a-hole for making her responsible for bills for 2 months without anything to contribute. Okay, I see your point, but I'm going to need to retrain. Better now than later. You're also an a-hole for deciding to do that without even bothering to have a discussion with her first, or seeming to give any sort of care about her feelings. You're the a-hole. I won't even touch the UFO stuff, but your wife is right. It's incredibly selfish to just quit your job without having any additional income and expect her to just bear the burden without a proper conversation, plan, or income. Man, I had to restrain myself for that one. Didn't work fully. And the audacity to come to a judgment sub and then argue with the judgment given? That are my favorites. How did I argue? I just wanted to make sure you made a point based on all the evidence. You'll be single before 2 months, you're the a-hole. She literally told me last night she still loves me regardless. So, loving someone doesn't mean you want or can stay in a relationship with someone. I quit my job without talking to my wife because my conspiracy theory podcast got a few views, so I decided that means I'm going to go viral and make money with it even though it's currently not even monetized. Am I the a-hole? Yes. Why would you quit before you get monetized? I don't need any text. Starting a podcast as a man? Immediately no. Oh, you're silly. So, I've been creating content. How long? For a while. I don't feel like doing the math. So I've been creating content for a while now. And I will tell you that I have joined a lot of subreddits for people within the content creator space, specifically YouTube, small channels, partnered channels, whatever. And one of the biggest themes I see is people prematurely quitting their jobs because they think they're gonna hit it big or be able to generate enough of an income to replace a typical job. And I'm here to tell you, it's probably not gonna happen. I don't know the platform this guy is on, and I don't know how monetization would work for a podcast, but let's say you're posting it on YouTube, and you're posting it on Spotify. Whatever. It doesn't really matter what platform you're on, because if you were making $0 from this thing that you think is just going to somehow end up working out, it's probably not going to work out. So on YouTube alone, according to some studies that were performed, only about 21% to 25% of channels even reach the 1,000 subscriber threshold for full monetization. And furthering that, less than 1% of all channels, including inactive ones, make significant money, according to a 2023 report. Now, to be fair, we don't know the platform, but it doesn't really matter because a lot of these monetization programs are kind of similar in that they want to ensure you have enough of an audience to monetize you. Otherwise, they're just going to be paying you literal pennies. But the point is, no matter what kind of content you're making, whether it's sexy videos, Reddit content, or conspiracy theories, you are going to have a hard time breaking into the field. It doesn't matter how charming you are, how funny you are, how great your stories are, how amazing your research is, or what you believe is spreading the truth. It's not an easy thing to break into. So to give yourself 2 months to not only get monetized, but to make enough money to help cover the bills is probably not going to happen. Your likelihood of that happening is slim to none. One of the biggest things a lot of content creators do have to do, if this is something they really want to pursue, is they have to work a regular job, plus YouTube, plus a podcast, plus streaming, whatever it is. You cannot pour all of yourself into something unless you have enough money, and savings to cushion you, which is another common theme I see. People quitting their jobs, but they're like, I have a lot in savings, so I've got a few months. But the likelihood of making a career is so slim, and it's just such a gamble. Or should we touch on the conspiracy theory part? I think that's a very niche audience, and while it could technically be very loyal, I think it would be also kind of hard to break into. A lot of the things we're passionate about end up making us very little because it doesn't have a wider target audience. And this sudden overnight viral success people seem to believe that they will have, it's even slimmer than the chance of getting monetized in 2 months. And then where Mr. Man Buddy Sir loses me is, it seems like he didn't talk to his wife about this. He just suddenly quit his job and has been podcasting every single day. So I think it's more you should have a regular job to cushion yourself in the very likely event that content creation isn't going to work out, so that you do have something to fall back on, so that you don't blow through your savings and feel like a total moron when you're like, this is actually a lot more difficult to break into than I thought. And I don't want to mock this guy for the whole conspiracy side of things. None of that is anything I believe in, but when it comes to making content, I want people to feel passionate about what they're talking about. So if you believe this is the truth, it's like, okay, you do you, I guess. But yeah, I just think this guy is the a-hole because suddenly quitting your job and not really talking about this with your wife to go and pursue a podcasting career where the chances of you breaking out and making enough is slim to none. Like, when you get monetized for things at first, a lot of the time what you end up making is like a few dollars a day. To work your way up to like $20 a day or $30 a day, it takes a lot and it's not easy to do. But like we always say, that's just my take. Anyways, on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for punishing my daughter for not coming to my wedding? I got married last weekend in my parents' house, which has been in the family for generations. For health reasons, only immediate family was there. My daughter, 16 female, has been calling her new stepmom, 21 female. That age gap. You know what I always say about age gaps. I don't like them. My daughter, 16 female, has been calling her new stepmom, 21 female, names like homewrecker and prostitute, and I have been patient with her. She assumes I left her late mother because she had breast cancer. However, I did not leave her mother for having cancer. Nobody decides to have cancer. However, her late mother kept using her illness to devalue me and my sense of identity. She'd criticize the way I was taking care of her and even stuff like my hygiene or the cologne I was wearing. She made me feel worthless, and I felt like she was projecting her own insecurities by saying the smell of my cologne was disgusting because she never made an effort to keep herself up, and despite the fact that I objectively found her disgusting sometimes, I stuck by her until my self-esteem was destroyed. Right. I would work hard closing deals all day and be acknowledged for my efforts at work, yet I'd go home and she'd criticize and nag about every once of my being. I met her stepmom when I was in a dark place. She made me feel like I could be myself again. My wife made me feel unattractive and sexless, and with my new wife, I felt alive! Just the fact that she appreciated me and felt physical chemistry with me made me want to do anything for her. To want to provide for her. That's when I decided to not BS my wife anymore and file for divorce. Since then, my daughter's relatives from her mom's side have been poisoning her against me. Last weekend, when I and her stepmom went to the site of the wedding early, we expected to see her drive to the wedding later, but instead she ended up going to stay with her aunt. Everybody asked where she was, and there was chaos from my side of the family locating her. As punishment, I took her car and allowance away, and have taken her phone away until I feel that she can learn to be respectful towards someone I love very much. And that it will be impossible for her to do that if she keeps having to hear from her late mom's side of the family. My parents have called and said that I was being too harsh. However, even when things are tough, I cannot let a child of mine believe they can just do whatever they want. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You cheated on her mother. Regardless of the situation, that's all she sees. She doesn't know your marriage problems. All she knows is that you left her mother for another woman. On top of that, you're marrying said woman when your 16-year-old daughter is still trying to deal with her mother's passing. A freaking course she didn't want to go. You're the a-hole for not trying to be more understanding of your daughter, for trying to force her, and then for punishing her. Also, hold the freaking phone. Somehow I completely missed that your new wife is 21. That makes it worse. She's only 5 years older than your daughter. They're close in age and you're still confused about her behavior? Holy cow, I can't even. Your daughter's mother has been dead for 4 months. You married someone 5 years older than her, who you probably cheated on your terminally ill wife with. Your daughter is grieving, and instead of you trying to comfort her, you've been gallivanting with someone who is young enough to be your daughter. By the way, chemo can cause extreme smell sensitivity and heightened nausea, but bro probably took the cologne thing as a personal attack instead of his wife experiencing debilitating side effects from the cytotoxic meds in her system. I didn't leave my wife because of cancer. I only left her for insert cancer symptoms. Yikes. So this is like a double, triple, quadruple whammy for me because I can never side with people who cheat. I hate age gaps, and I am chronically ill, so I tend to be very, very, very defensive of people who have any type of illness, especially when your illness has killed you. Where do we delve in and start with first? Okay, so there's a 5-year gap between your daughter and your new wife. Ew, that's disgusting. And the fact that he didn't mention his age tells me that he just didn't want people knowing that detail for a reason. Second thing is, I was gonna mention the thing about the chemo changing your sense of smell, but I wasn't 100% sure that's a fact. The smell thing affects up to 86% of patients, often making everyday smells intolerable, and generally resolves within 3 to 6 months after treatment ends. One of my favorite things I love to bring up is we don't really know how reliable our narrator is, so maybe someone with cancer who's, you know, actively not doing so well was probably not having a great time and had a very low tolerance for this man's BS. Now, we don't know if he did cheat, but it sounds like he did. So we're going off the context. So he meets this woman, it's great, he loves her, she's hot and sexy, she makes him feel hot and sexy. So it said, right after that paragraph, that that's when he decided not to BS his wife anymore and file for divorce. So at the very least, emotional cheating, which is... And on top of that, he doesn't understand where the daughter is coming from. So she is dealing with probably some pretty intense grief, as you can imagine. You know, it hasn't been that long since the mother passed, and this guy has not only moved on, he's getting married to someone who's only 5 years older than his daughter. Now, for anyone, that would be disturbing, but for someone who just lost their mother to cancer, and whose mother had been abandoned when she was dying from cancer, if you look at it from the daughter's perspective, it just makes the original poster so much more vile and disgusting. This is a horrible situation all around. There is no way to say that this guy is not the a-hole. It's like a double and triple whammy, I swear, I'm telling you. There's so many red flags in this story, it's insane. And then the lack of self-awareness is always what gets me. You know, these people have so little self-awareness. Like, how are you not aware how Reddit is gonna tear you to shreds because not only did you leave your dying wife for another person, you left your dying wife for someone so much younger. And then, in the wake of your ex-wife's death, you marry this woman and completely treat your child like garbage. You know, taking away her phone, taking away the things that were probably helping her cope with this horrible loss in her life, losing a parent, that's not an easy thing to go through, especially at 16 to something like cancer. And then your father takes away everything and your father's trying to force you to like your new stepmom. It's like, come on, guy. So yeah, this guy, 100,000 million%, he's the ace. Anyways, on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my friend to host/cook our group dinner? Probably. Fake names given. I, 26 male, have a group of 8 close friends. Co-ed 24 to 27. One of them is my fiance, Beth, 26 female. We all met in college and tried to stay connected since then. We've had group dinners once a week for a few years now. These meals are always hosted at Alice, 25 female, and Carter, 26 males, home. Alice is an amazing cook. To her credit, she puts a lot of effort into it. She has appetizers ready when people get there, a big meal, meat, veggies, sides, and she always makes dessert. We had our dinner on Sunday, and Alice said she needed to talk to everyone. Her and Carter were having a bit of a tough time making ends meet right now. She loved the dinners, but they can't afford to finance them right now, and that they were going to be on a tight budget the next few months. She proposed that everyone at dinner could help with a contribution of about $5 to $10 per meal, depending on how expensive it had been for her to buy ingredients, plus prep, and cook it. She didn't want to ask for money, but she thinks it's fair because of the time and effort it takes to put together these meals every week. If no one was comfortable with contributing, we would have to meet once or twice a month. I was annoyed by this, and even more annoyed when most of our friends, including Beth, said they would obviously contribute, and to let them know if they needed anything else. Wow, what horrible friends. The only other holdout was Tina, but for different reasons. Tina offered to host some dinners at her place and cook for everyone herself, in exchange for not having to pay them. Alicia, is it Alicia? I thought it was Alice. Alicia and Carter were okay with it, but everyone, including myself, vetoed the idea. Tina's just an okay cook, and Alicia and Carter's place is in a way more convenient spot for everyone and has more room. Now I don't know this woman's name, because he said Alicia twice. I just think that it's ridiculous to make your friends pay for something that was supposed to be free. When we started these dinners, it was given that no one would have to pay to attend. I don't pay my friends for favors they do for me, and I don't expect payment. And it's not like she's a private chef or a professional cook. They, probably mostly Carter, are just trying to get money out of us.
You sure about that?
So I spoke up at dinner and said I didn't want to pay. I asked if Carter had to pay to attend the meal, and Alice said no because it's their shared home, and he helps her cook and clean up. That made me more annoyed. Carter is a total freeloading loser! There were some things said as I was getting heated, and me and my fiance had us leave early. The whole car ride home, she was angry with me and saying I was a cheapskate, ungrateful, and rude. She's been annoyed with me the past few days, and apparently a lot of the rest of the group is disappointed with me too. So me and my fiance sat down and she helped me write this post. There were some details I forgot, so I can prove to her that I'm not being unreasonable. That's gonna work out well. There it is, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay for my friend to cook us dinner? You're the a-hole. You have some nerve acting like Cater is freeloading when you're unwilling to pay a token amount to help Alice when she's been cooking amazing meals on the regular for you for years. This behavior will leave you with no friends. Carter is a freeloader though. Alice is way too good for him. He's a bunch of the reason why they're on such hard times. Even if they weren't on hard times, you'd still be the a-hole. You're seriously upset because your friend, who's been feeding you for free for years, is now requesting money? I think $20 for 2 meals a week is a great deal. You shouldn't be expecting your friend to not only make your meal for you 2 days out of the week, but to do it for free. You're the a-hole, like, in general. But in particular, for talking up Alice's cooking just to dog on her later with the not even a professional stuff once presented, with the idea of no longer getting a great meal for completely free. My fiance made me add that bit in. She's a great cook, but she's my friend, and I shouldn't have to pay friends to cook for me. Your girlfriend and friends deserve better than you. Fiance. They're just trying to get money out of us. Buddy, you've been getting free meals and labor out of her for years. She was feeding 8 people once a week for free? Absolutely not. The fact that no one has been chilling in without being asked this whole time is honestly baffling. Everyone is a freeloader but me. So, most people, I would say, if your friend is going through a hard time financially, would be willing to help out. To have this reaction of, you're just trying to get money out of us. Carter is a freeloader. She's not even a private chef or professional cook. Like, buddy, be so for real with yourself right now. So you're getting free meals for how many years? You've been having group dinners once a week for a few years, for free. I don't think the price of those meals is really that crazy, because when you think about like eating out or making your own dinners and you think about the cost, like $5 to $10 per meal is really not that bad. But if your friend has fallen on some hard times financially, no matter whose fault it is, most people would be like, what can we do to help? Not, you're trying to get money out of because that's stupid. Everybody else in the group was like, yeah, let's go for it, let's do it. And then this guy is just blowing the whole situation up. And then he makes things even worse, asking if Carter has to pay to attend the meal. No, because he lives there and he helps her cook and clean up. Why would... like, he's contributing in some way. There were some things said as I was getting heated, which means there's a lot of context that was left out. And then even this guy's fiance got annoyed at him. Anyone who has fallen on hard financial times, asking for a little bit of support or help to make these wonderful homemade meals is not that crazy to me. And if you were like, I don't want to pay that because you can't afford it, that's one thing, but it just sounds like you're mad because you're not getting free meals anymore. And you know, even Tina offered to help, but no one wanted to do that, and that was vetoed. Sorry, Tina. Happens to the best of us. And so the original poster, in my eyes, is just a huge a-hole. Comes across as really entitled in the way this was written out. And, you know, it's so funny when people turn to Reddit so that they can prove their point, and then Reddit goes the complete opposite way, because no one's gonna read this story and be like, yeah, you're totally in the right for not wanting to pay your friend who's been giving you free labor for years, now that they're in some hard financial times. Also, it's totally okay to start mocking your other friend Carter for being a total freeloading loser. I don't think anyone on the internet is going to read what this guy said and be like, yeah, you know, he sounds totally reasonable and chill and cool. If you don't want to pay for these meals, then don't go to them anymore. You know, you can be left out, you can stay home, go eat your Stan McDonald's fries reheated from 2 weeks ago.
What?
If you don't want to pay the money to Alice or Alicia or whatever her name actually is, then stop going. But to make this a whole big situation is very telling as to what kind of person you are. My final verdict, you're the a-hole. Anyways, on to the next one. Am I the a-hole for going on a family trip right after without my daughter, who started college? So I, 52 male, just got off the phone with my daughter, 18 female, and I think I made her cry. I feel bad, but I also don't understand exactly why. Any advice would be appreciated. A few months ago, I began planning a surprise trip for my wife's 50th this October. I thought it would be a perfect time for a little getaway, as we've been raising children together for the past 20 years. And haven't had much alone time. My oldest, 20 female, has been in college for a few years now, and this year my middle child just left the nest for college too. This just leaves my youngest, 15 male, at home, and I figured it would be okay to leave him to fend for himself for a bit. My issue started when I decided where we would be going. My wife has been wanting to visit Portugal for a long time, and so I thought that would be the natural choice, but my middle daughter has also expressed a desire to go to Portugal in the past, to the point where her and my wife had discussed taking the trip together. I figured that going on a trip without my daughter would be okay, since this was just a week-long thing between my wife and I. About a week ago, I decided I couldn't keep the trip a secret anymore, so I told my youngest about it. He told me that he would not be comfortable staying at home alone for a week, and after some consideration, I decided that it would be okay if he came along too. I don't want him to be left alone for so long, and I think it might be nice to get him some travel experience. I managed to convince him to keep the trip secret from his mother, but not from my oldest. I had told my oldest prior because she has a very busy schedule. However, upon learning about the trip, she managed to take the entire week off of work, which is practically a miracle. I of course said she could come along too, as this is such a rare opportunity. This unfortunately means the only person in the family not coming is my middle daughter, who was the one who really wanted to go to Portugal. So I called her and told her about the trip. I didn't expect her to take it well, but she took it really not well. Once I filled her in on all the details, she got really quiet, and I think she started crying before wordlessly hanging up the call. Afterwards, I was worried she was going to tell her mom about the whole incident, which I cannot have. I really want to surprise her with this, and so to remind my daughter that it's a secret, I messaged her, "Good to chat. Again, it's a surprise, so don't mention to Mom. Love you!" The trip is happening right before her midterms week, and she's out of state, so there's really no way she could come along. I just hope she'll come to her senses and calm down, as at this point, there's really nothing to do. I expected more emotional maturity out of her, I guess. I think she's being a bit of a spoiled brat, honestly, but I also understand that something like this could really ruin our relationship, and that's the last thing I want. What should I do? You're the a-hole. Why is she a spoiled brat? Because she had feelings? You don't say she yelled at you or that she spoiled the surprise. She silently cried and hung up so she could deal with her emotions on her own. Because gosh knows she couldn't work through it with you. It's horrifying that you can display such insensitivity for a kid who has just left the nest, only for the nest to reunite for her dream trip without her, and then insult her on top of it. Have some shame. Someone had 3 children with this man. Me reading the first part, wondering what's so toxic about it, thinking it seemed pretty normal, finish reading, oh no, poor girl. And that text that he sent right after the phone call is just salt in the wound. I'd probably not talk to my father again for a good while after that. Also, this is supposed to be an anniversary trip, but you're letting some of your kids come along? Some anniversary trip. Not just the a-hole to his daughter for the whole leaving the one child that wanted to go behind, but also to his wife, because what kind of anniversary gift is that now? He also gave the option to go to literally everyone but her middle child. Just called her and told her she cannot come. What the hell? Roa didn't even have a plan originally for his wife. He snooped his way into the mother-daughter plan and kicked the daughter out of it. They both decided to take the trip together. The things you want to do with your daughter and significant others are different. Is he even sure she want to visit Portugal with him? Why does he think his wife is okay with it? This dude is going to drop another Reddit post saying, "My wife is ungrateful even after I planned her favorite trip." We have the middle child who had recently left for college. And, you know, for a lot of people, that kind of is a traumatizing experience because you're away from your family. But beyond that, everyone in the family but her is getting together for this trip to Portugal. Second, the middle daughter and the mother had discussed taking the trip together. And then suddenly, the father's like, everybody's going, except for the one kid you discussed this with. So that in and of itself is a problem. And then, the youngest suddenly ends up invited because he doesn't want to end up home alone. Okay. Kind of weird to, you know, invite your kid along for an anniversary trip, but whatever, I'm not gonna shame families for how they do stuff. And then I think the youngest child tells the oldest child, and she manages to get the entire week off, and so she's allowed to come along too. But then suddenly, the middle child, who is the one the mother actually planned this trip with, you know, at some point in the future, cannot go because they decided to take the trip right before her midterms and she's out of state. I also think that the timing of the trip is just really awful because, you know, I don't know if they've booked already, kind of sounds like they have, but because he started tacking on all the kids slowly that were coming along with them, it seems like the middle kind of just got forgotten, and because she has stuff going on and she wouldn't be able to join them anyway, it makes the situation suck even more because it's now not just a you can't come along issue, it's a massive timing issue, which if you're the middle child, the middle daughter, that might feel kind of intentional. I don't know if it was or not, but... And then he calls her a spoiled brat. Nothing about that says spoiled, privileged brat to me, but okay, buddy. And then, as that one commenter said, it is very much salt in the wound to have sent that text. Good to chat again at surprise, so don't mention it to mom, I love you. Like, this is a trip she really wanted to go on, a trip that she planned with her mother. Everyone in the family is reuniting except her. So to know that you have just been excluded from this trip you've always wanted to go on with the person you've always wanted to go with, and then to be called a spoiled brat on top of that, like who knows what he said to her, but yikes. As was also pointed out, he did inject himself into this trip concept that was already planned with the mother and daughter. So it's kind of strange that he couldn't even come up with a different place to go that wasn't what they had been discussing. And I think it's kind of a sucky anniversary gift if you've been raising your kids for 20 plus years, but now all your kids, except for one, are coming on the trip with you. Like, that's not a very good anniversary trip. I understand there are some people who would love to have their kids along for a trip, and maybe they're that type of people, but the whole point of the trip was so that they could have alone time without the kids that they've been raising for 20 years. And now, if you take this trip, it's like the whole thing has been ruined. Their plans, their ideas, all of that. You have completely altered this plan that they had. Whether or not it had a foundation, they were still making a plan to one day do this, and now you've completely overridden that and ruined it. And I'm of the opinion that the father is the a-hole, and I don't really reasonably see a way around that. And, you know, anyone can have any opinion, that's fine, but mine, I think, cannot be changed that the dad is, in fact, the a-hole. That was supposed to be a gavel. It didn't sound like a gavel. It just sounds like someone knocking on the door. So that was our final story of the night. So if you're new around here, around these parts, every last Friday of the month, I like to read some Am I the A-hole stories, and it's a good grand old time. We don't always read toxic ones, but I decided to go with that theme tonight because it feels like it's been a while. And if you had a lot of fun and you're like, wow, you're freaking incredible, boy do I have some news for you. If you want to hang out with me a little bit more, I will link down to my master Reddit stories playlist, as well as to my Am I the A-hole only stories playlist, if you want to stay within that genre. And if you just want to keep up with the channel, what you can do is subscribe. So everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you all here next time.